Recently, Housing.com, the realty portal, forayed into 101 cities across India. They were at 55 cities. They've expanded the website to 101 cities. The list included Tier 2 cities like Visakhapatnam, Kanpur, Ludhiana, Rajahmundry, Panchkula, Coimbatore, Vijayawada, Nellore, Guwahati, and of course, the list is really long. Some of these cities, in fact, many of them do not even have a population of 1 million people. So the question is, how robust are real estate markets beyond India's top 8 cities? Do they hold enough investment potential? Joining me to slug out the answers are JC Sharma, Vice Chairman and Managing Director, Shobha Limited; Ghulam Zia, Executive Director, Knight Frank India; Mohit Goel, CEO of Omax; Tarun Mehrotra, Corporate Advisor, Real Estate Development; Nehal Shah, MD, Foliage Group; Sahil Kapoor, Executive Director, Remax India; and Sameer Jasuja, MD and founder of Prop Equity. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. Okay, so here we're talking about Tier 2 cities, though we know that despite all the excitement which came with Mr. Modi coming to power with absolute majority, even Tier 1 cities haven't taken off. So before we even go to Tier 2 cities, I think the big question, because Mr. Modi has completed 1 year in power, the NDA government with absolute majority, nothing really seems to be happening in real estate. So what is that analysis? I mean, what if you had to score him on the report card of housing, what would it be? Mr. Sharma, start with that.
I think we all have done with our results, and most of us have not performed to the expectations. And primarily it has been because of very slow moving market almost in all the cities except Bangalore. We believe that primarily it is on account of whatever had been happening to our economy in the past and high expectations. Going forward, we believe that the macro environment is definitely changing for the better. Somewhere we are seeing some improvements even in NCR market also. And most of the Tier 1 cities, hopefully in this financial year, maybe 2 quarters from now, we will see the revival of demand.
Okay. So you're saying that some disappointments, but you will see revival in maybe 2 quarters from now. Tarun Mehrotra, you've been in this market long enough. Tell me, are we being optimistic saying that the markets will revive in 2 quarters? Is that too much to expect?
Manisha, the real demand should start limping back in Tier 1 cities because the end users will not wait endlessly for the market, because right now the market is in a state of inertia. Everyone's waiting for some event to happen, which clearly will not happen. So the markets will start limping back and the end user demand will start in a couple of quarters, I'm sure. But coming back to the main topic of the debate, that is there potential in the secondary cities? But I think we are in a state of, in this state of inertia also partially because we have such a limited exposure. 8 cities is what controls the real estate market of India, the primary real estate market of India. If these were to include the 29, 28 state capitals, then there is immense potential. Right now what happens, NCR feeds the entire investment requirement of almost the entire North India. Now there are certain, you've seen the success of real estate markets in the north, the secondary markets being the tri-cities of Chandigarh and let's say in the recent years Lucknow. So that's shown that there is a lot of potential if regional magnets are created as an investment hub and if there is enough activity, because there's a lot of latent demand for those kind of products.
Okay, so am I hearing that there is demand in at least if you go up to the state capitals? Is that, Tarun, what you're...
I'm saying we should start with developing the state capitals,
okay,
and there is demand even beyond the state capitals. Let's say any city which has 1 million population, look at the housing situation in the country. Go to any secondary city, go to a Meerut, go to a Varanasi, go anywhere. There are small towns. The housing situation is really bad. I mean, the housing is crumbling. There is, and what is the basic demand is water supply, power, schools, education and healthcare. So if you can provide all of this in a modern environment, I think every single city in India is willing to absorb that kind of supply.
Okay, Sameer, here we are talking about the fact that even in tier 1 cities, there's so much supply that there isn't enough demand. And like Tarun pointed out, all of NCR is an investor pool, brings in the investor money of all of North India. So who's going to go to other markets?
Well, it's anybody's guess, because I just want to share some key data points that I was just working on before we started this debate. We are covering about 8-9 top tier 2 cities today. Total number of new launches, Manisha, in all the 8 cities put together last year were 40,000 units.
Ah.
That's probably lesser than Noida,
Right.
right?
Less than half of Noida.
Not new launches compared to the same time.
Same time, all right.
Right? We're talking about 47,000 units of organized absorption in these top 8 cities, which will probably be much bigger if put together than a Mumbai, NCR put together, I would say. So what are we really talking about here? That if we're talking about our organized set of developers from the tier 1 cities taking the lead and going into tier 2, tier 3 cities, is there enough organized demand out there? I'm sure there may be if organized development was to come in there, but do the developers today have the bandwidth to even look at beyond the cities that they're operating in? They've clearly demonstrated and demonstrated to the entire country that real estate can't be managed nationally. It's pretty much, from a developer perspective, also become literally a state subject. They can only do well in one such state. And for the, to be really frank with you, the economy is still yet to come out of the woods. So if we're talking about 47,000 units being absorbed in an entire year of 8-9 top tier 2 cities, why would you want to look at them?
Okay, Mohit, what's your take? You are in some of the top 8 tier 2 cities. Now let's be very clear, these are not, we're not talking about NCR, but markets like Mohali, etc. in North India. Is the slowdown, first of all, worse than what you've seen in a larger market like NCR? How would you poise or juxtapose the two?
So basically, I actually don't want to compare the tier 2 cities with tier 1 cities. As Mr. D'Souza rightly pointed out, real estate is very local subject. That's the reason a developer is able to work in one particular state and not able to take the bandwidth to the whole country. But I just want to bring down to a point which is the ideology of this government of the nation or the nation. Why is Delhi NCR, Mumbai growing? Why is housing demand growing over there? Because of migration of population going to these cities, going to these metros. And why people are going there? Because of standard of living, because of the job opportunities getting created over there.
Correct.
If I create job opportunities in these tier 2, tier 3 cities, why would a guy who's born and brought up in Lucknow would come to Delhi and try to work over here or try to settle in Delhi? So that exactly what is happening last 5 years. At least the intention is there. I don't know till when on ground things will happen, when the infrastructure will start happening in these tier 2, tier 3 cities, that or when the job opportunities will be created so that the person do not migrate to Delhi or Mumbai, which is actually good for the nation as well, because then we are creating more metros. I mean, why do India, which is the 7th largest country of the world, why we just have like 7-8 metros? And actually, to be very honest, I just call, say, 5 metros of the country. We should have at least 15-20 metros to cater to the whole country. And depending on the question that, yes, of course, tier 2, tier 3 cities have been facing through this slowdown. The transactions have gone down. But the price points and the way developers have gone there, and the developer who's done the right work and has delivered on right time, I think he is not facing any such problem in terms of transactions. But yes, rates haven't gone up last 2 years, but I see markets improving the next, say, 3 to 4 quarters.
Okay.
And
Alright.
these markets picking up.
All right. So, Gulab, what I'm hearing, and if I can sum it up, of course, these are very, very thoughts that yes, there is potential in tier 2 cities, at least the top 8 to 10 tier 2 cities or state capitals. But a lot needs to be done to really make them thriving real estate markets. Is that correct, or would you disagree?
I 100% agree to whatever you said. I have been listening to these arguments about future, arguments about the number of housing units and this and that. I want to highlight just one thing, that if you keep those 7 or 8 cities that you talk about out of this entire discussion, then there are this whole rest of the cities, the whatever number of cities you're talking about, will not have more than 3,000 to 4,000 housing unit absorption in a year. And if you look at another set of 25, 30 cities, it will be 1,000 to 2,000 housing units sold in a year. So when you talk about, say, a Mumbai and Delhi, 70,000, 100,000, 90,000 units in a year, these markets are so hopelessly small that for even any developer from these established locations to go across and develop something over there, the markets are so small that when you have an exposure of, say, doing 1,000 units or 5,000 units, 10,000 units in a city like Mumbai and Delhi, you find that you can't sell more than 200 units in a year in those cities. And that is something which has to be understood well. And as somebody mentioned that it all obviously depends on job creation and the growth of jobs in these cities. I have some data, ISO data, etc., which talks about not more than 3 to 5%. That is the range. Some cities you have only 2% job growth in a year. From 2% to 4% kind of an on an average job growth will obviously not even give you in next couple of years. The housing dwelling requirement will not even shoot up the way you are actually used to of working in these metro cities. So if
Okay.
you're expecting
So,
these
I want
developers from
interrupt
metro to
you
go
here,
there, it's a
Ghulam.
very small
This
market.
2 to 4% that you're talking about, the job data that you have, is a national figure that you have?
No, I'm talking about each of these cities. Like for
Okay, the
example, if
tier
I'm
two
looking at it,
cities.
Lucknow looks at 4%, Indore looks at 4%. These are the kind of growth numbers in jobs. And those numbers are so small in these cities. And these are good numbers. Like Lucknow at 4% is better than many other cities. Most of them are 2 to 3%. So when the job growth itself is so small, then you can't expect that. Obviously, the requirement of housing depends on households where new jobs are found or somebody wants to improve, etc. And that number itself is so small in all these cities.
Okay, fair enough. Sahil Kapoor, come in here and corroborate what the panelists have said, that look, looking at real estate as an investment in tier 2 cities of India is probably it's fraught with a huge amount of risk right now, with poor job growth and infrastructure not being in place. It's pretty much, if you're living in that city and you want to own a house, then you buy it. Otherwise, do not look at it from an investment point of view. Is that the verdict?
Yeah, I think the demand is mostly from the end user community and not from the investor community. And whatever investor community you have in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, they still prefer to invest in the tier 1 towns. I personally think there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of money available in these tier 2 and tier 3 towns. Nowadays, people have a lot of disposable income, which can definitely be invested into real estate, but the right amount of opportunity is not available in terms of real estate in these areas. In terms of these infrastructure, even the right product is not available, the right developer is not going to these places. And if you look at markets like Noida and Gurgaon, a lot of these developers are pulling out money from the tier 2 and tier 3 towns and getting that invested into their projects in Noida and in Gurgaon and in other metro cities. Okay. So the money is available, but I think the right opportunity is still lacking, the infrastructure is lacking, and a little push from the government also lacks at this moment of time.
Okay, so this is really interesting. I remember last year, similar time, we did this tier 1 versus tier 2 city debate, and there were a lot of developers who said that some of the tier 1 cities are saturated and they have got into tier 2 cities specifically because they saw great opportunities, especially in a market like Lucknow. Jaipur was another market, and we do know the Jaipur-Delhi highway, the number of new projects that have come up there. So Mohit, I mean, what's happening? Is there a turnaround now? Are you saying no more tier 2? It has to be tier 1 cities?
Not at all. We are actually sticking to the same thing, that we are sticking to tier 2, tier 3 cities. But I just want to bring another point here. Let's have 3 categories. Let's just not have tier 1 and tier 2 or tier 3, because it's just tier 1 versus tier 2, tier 3. Let's have tier 1 and the state capitals also. Okay. Lucknow, Jaipur, Chandigarh, let's not consider it as tier 2, tier 3, because UP itself is a country, is the largest state we have. And Lucknow gets investment from all across UP.
Okay, so let's say tier 1 state capitals and then the rest.
Then the rest, absolutely.
Okay, fine.
If I compare the state capitals today, state capitals are doing really well. Okay. I mean, because as somebody just said, that investors are not coming and putting in money. That's the case with the whole country. Investors they've dried up the money from the sector, and it's actually the end user market. And that's the case with Lucknow, Jaipur, Chandigarh also. but at least the end user over there is coming because the whole UP is the end user for Lucknow.
Okay.
Because the whole UP wants to invest
Hold your
there.
thought here. On this show, we've debated on how investor-driven a market Lucknow has become. So to say that Lucknow's been an end-user market is a complete misnomer. It was and had become a huge investor-driven market. It may not be the case today. Sameer, I mean, Jaipur, Lucknow, Mohali, they've all been investor-driven as well.
See, Manisha, one very important point that I wanted to make was that there's a huge affinity in tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities for residents of those cities to invest in land over built up units. So
Okay.
that is one data point which is very important that needs to be captured, and if they have to make an
So
investment.
have plotted developments done well or
Yeah,
no?
so plotted developments have kind of done well. When we talk about doing well, it can have two definitions. One is unprecedented amount of plots could have been bought in these tier 2 cities over the last 2-3 years when a lot of big developers launched plotted development over there. Has appreciation really happened? It happened initially from 2010 to 2013, and because it was investor driven and now investors are not coming into the market, so it's not, the momentum can't be seen and the prices are coming back, and that's why we're talking about prices having dropped in tier 2, tier 3 cities as well. It's predominantly a end use market, and if the investor market exists there, it exists in plotted development where they have long term investment horizons, and they don't even want to look at exits. They just want to hold it for life.
Okay, Mr. Sharma, come in here. We don't want to restrict this conversation only to North India. We'll go to specific zones later. But what is your own assessment? I mean, we have now divided this debate between 3 segments. Tier 1, we are not discussing today. Tier 2, which are the state capitals. And then, of course, the rest of the cities which have some growth opportunities. As a developer who's gone into smaller or at least the state capitals and some of the tier 2 cities, what is your own gumption? I mean, is this market going to be dominated by A, plotted development buyers, and B, total end users and not many investors coming in, returns of less than 8% annualized? Is that how you should look at that market?
See, Manisha, we can have a mixed kind of an outcome. If you look at Sobha has presence in 9 cities, 5 in tier 2 and 4 in tier 1. Chennai, Pune, NCR and Bangalore, tier 1. Mysore, Coimbatore, Calicut, Cochin and Trichur as tier 2 cities. See, our experience in Trichur has been exceptionally well. It has done better than even in the Pune market as far as Sobha is concerned. Right. And it has been primarily driven because of this NRI who prefers to come to Kerala and buy a product wherever they feel comfortable, which made us to go to Calicut as well as to Cochin. Okay. We believe that in all such markets there is an organic demand, lots of money is flowing into it, and at some point of time everyone wants upgradation. And if there is a national player who has got better design, better concept, more comfort he is providing to the customer by way of specifications and other things, they are definitely opting for it. At the same time, these markets cannot be compared with the tier 1. As someone said that, okay, when 1,000 units can only be sold, we need to plan accordingly. And we believe that going forward, the tier 2, tier 3 or the state capital market will coexist along with the tier 1 market, and since tier 1 market controls most of the demand, need not be compared, but we need not have to overlook the tier 2 and the state capital market also.
Okay, I think you've summed it up very well, Tarun Mehrotra. So that's why an ATS is probably going to Bulandshahr, because you can't put all your eggs in one basket. Is going to state capitals and tier 2 cities a risk mitigation strategy by developers, or do you think that these markets are now ripe for organized large players and good products?
I frankly think there's a huge unutilized potential which is yet waiting to be exploited. And secondly, right, like Mr. Sharma said, it's a folly to compare the numbers of a tier 1 NCR and to a market like Varanasi or even Lucknow for that matter, because those numbers, the scale is completely different.
Okay.
And then the scale, the developers have to adjust. Now that's the question mark of your depth in the market, that whether you have the bandwidth or the depth to go and sell 500 units in a market while you may be selling 5,000 units in the NCR. So that's a business decision which is up to the developer. But yes, the depths in these markets definitely will be. That's why they're tier 2 and tier 3.
All right, so lesser depth. I'm going to take a very quick break. I'm going to come back. I think there are a lot more points to be made here. But also just to call out, I mean, what's happened in the past? What are some of the best performing markets? Which are the markets which haven't done well? And we're not going to go to tier 3 at all. We're going to restrict ourselves to state capital and some of the top tier 2 cities. On our way back, we'll also get the panelists to pick their favorite tier 2 city or state capital in terms of housing. Which is the one which holds the potential for some investment returns. It doesn't matter if you're buying a house or an apartment or a plot of land for end use. Everybody in this country buys real estate for some appreciation. So which is it? Which city holds that potential? On our way back.